G'day, I'm Dave, out and about with Dave, and I've been in discussions with George 4x4 Recovery Gear. They're out at Acacia Ridge here in southeast Queensland in Brisbane, and I've been discussing with Tony about bringing you guys some information, some details on his recovery gear that he has and stocks can make for you, and taking you through how to use them, their limitations, cautions and things like that. But he's also asked me to do it very simply, in a very simplistic manner. It reflects his characteristics. He's very pragmatic. If you ring him up, and he's more than happy to have a chat, he helps you through your problems, helps you understand your problems or your questions. His background is in lifting, craneage and hoists and things like that, so he's able to apply that into the 4x4 world. I'm an accredited four-wheel drive trainer, and I enjoy getting out and travelling around this great country of ours, but also I enjoy sharing my experiences and my knowledge and things like that. So first, I suppose it's a question of, when are you stuck? What's happened? Why are you stuck? Where are you stuck? And how we're going to get out of that situations. So the other one is to look at, when you do get stuck, don't get over anxious, don't panic, don't think, oh, this is the end of the world, unless of course it is pretty severe. But I suppose for the average time, for the first time you might get bogged and things like that, you think, oh, I'm never going to get out of this. But I suppose the questions are you safe? If the tide's coming in and the sand's really soft and things like that, and there's a storm approaching, it's nearly night time, then you're running out of time. And you need to look at your safety as well. Probably even, is the car worth it? But you need to look after yourself and others. And I suppose it's a question of who's with you. What knowledge have they got? What equipment have they got? How helpful are they going to be? Can you use them in the recovery? Will they use you in the recovery in that they know what they're doing and they just need your help to help do it? What equipment do you have? You should have gear that matches your car. If you're driving a light car, don't have ridiculously heavy gear to recover yourself. Take the time. Sometimes we often talk about, oh, make yourself a cup of tea. That's important, just to stop, center yourself, look at the problem. An important one is also to look at your options. In this case here, I'm coming up this little bit of a rise. It's very clayey. I'm not bogged. You might say I'm having a little bit of trouble just coming up over this pinch. So, can I reverse? Yes, I can. I'm not that bogged. If I do reverse, what's that going to get me into? Is there another way to get out of this situation? If I do reverse, can I come up another way? Do I just try another approach? How deep are my wheels bogged? Will a slow pull get me out of this? In this case, yes, it will. If there's another car up there, just hook me on. Don't snatch me. You can use a snatch strap, but don't snatch me, as in rapid acceleration and pulling the car out. Just give me a gentle pull up over this rise and we'll get out of it. Can a jack get me out? Like if my wheels are spinning in the bottom there and I'm in a bit of my car's at a bit of an angle, I haven't got the flex and one of my wheels is losing traction, I can lift it up, I can do some landscaping. I can put some rocks underneath, I can dig some dirt underneath some of the areas that are high, fill up underneath where it's low, etc, etc. We call that landscaping. What else we got? We got some treads and we got some max tracks and things like that. Even alu tracks that link together and put in, they're all good. But you can even bridge a gully, like we've got a bit of a gully down in here. You can bridge that with some treads, either lengthwise or put them in and they just fill that hole in so you can climb up over it. Reduce your tyre pressure is another one. Like I'm currently sitting on 42 because I've just come off the main drag, and I'm sitting here full tyre pressure. I haven't lowered my tyres. If I was serious, I probably would. And then of course, last is your snatch strap recovery, where we induce a load on the strap, the front car takes off forward, brings elasticity into that snatch strap, and then you get a jolt effect coming out. All very good, but very dangerous. You've got to be using the right equipment, and we'll go into that later on how to do a snatch recovery. I suppose another golden rule to look at is the 1 metre rule. So with a 1 metre rule, it may be that all you've got to do is move 1 metre and your car will be free to travel on its own. It's just a matter of picking that distance. What have you got? Pull yourself out and see how you go. Check. Okay, you don't need to be towed 50 metres up the road there. So before we can look at all our recovery gear, and this is part of it, but I'd like to start with the winch. So the winch, usually found here, of course, unless you've got a rear mounted winch when you're getting serious, but a winch sits underneath there on the bull bar fixed to the car. They usually come in 12,000 pounds, which is 5.4-ish tonnes. So you need to look at the loads. You can get heavier ones, you can get lighter ones, but a 5.4, 12,000 pounds is perhaps a good one for your average punter, I'll use that word, because we can do things, if it's not enough, we can do things with the ropes to make the winch more capable. And also if it's a lighter car, well, the winch isn't going to do any harm if it's underloaded. So it's overpowered for the situation, doesn't matter at all. So let's have a look at the winch in more detail. I did say I didn't want to go too theoretical here and keep it all very practical and everything else, and just keep it simple. But I do think it's interesting and helpful to understand the loads on the winch. And of course by that the loads on the winch ropes and the shackles and everything else too. And if we look at terrain for starters, on firm sand we're looking at say 10% of the weight of the car. Okay, 10%. So if it's 3.2 tonnes, it'll be 320 kilograms is what you're trying to push on the firm sand. Okay, with the winch, quite easy. If we start looking at gravel and grass and hard sand, we're looking at about 20%. So again, if it's a 3.2 vehicle, you're looking at about 640 kilograms. If we now go to thin mud and dry sand, you're looking at 30%, and 30% of 3,200. If you go up into thick mud and you're looking at soft wet sand, you guessed it, 40%. Okay, then if we go up into sticky mud and clay, you're looking at 50%. So that's probably the worst you can get into, the sticky mud, really sticky mud, and it's bogging everything down. You're looking at half the weight of the car. So again, a 3.2 tonne car, you're looking at 1.6 tonnes. Okay, so all that is within very easy scope of the winch you've got, the 12,000 pound winch and rope. Okay, so we don't need to do too much with the winch. A single line straight pull will do. The next one is the slope of the ground. Okay, if it's 17% for every 10 degrees, we're looking at about, for a 10 degree slope, you're looking at about 20%. So then a 20 degree slope, and again I'm rounding off here, is about 35% the load of the car. So then if we go up to 30%, and really if you start getting above that, you need to know what you're doing and have some equipment ready and all that sort of stuff, you're looking at 50%. So that's the half away to your car. All right, so that's half, and that there is half too. So if you're in sticky mud and you're going up a 30 degree slope, you of the same weight of the car, 3.2, that's still within the 5.4 tonnes of capability of the winch and the winch rope. Now let's look at, if I may be so brave, let's look at mire. So mire is the fact that you've got yourself bogged, okay, and how bogged are you going to get? So for starters, if you're bogged up to the body, I'll put up there bogged. If you're bogged up to the body, the chassis, or perhaps even the diff, you're looking at 3 times the vehicle weight. Okay, we'll call that VW for want of a better word, VW, vehicle weight. And that ends up being quite a lot. It's a lot more than what your 5.4 winch can handle, your ropes and all that sort of stuff. You're getting into some real serious stuff. If, however, you're bogged up to the axles, you're looking at, say, 2 times the vehicle weight. Okay? Now, if we go a step further, and we're just at the sidewalls, you're looking at 1 times. So it's the vehicle weight in itself. So to get you out of that hole, you've got out of that bog, you've got to pull about the weight of the car. If it's just on flat ground, not bogged, and we discussed this before over the page, you're looking at 10% of the vehicle weight. Okay, so 3.2, we're back down to 320 again, 320 kilograms. So really, once you get above your sidewalls, you're in a different game, because if you go up to the axles, it's 2 times the vehicle weight. 3.2 times 2 is 6.4. That's above the capabilities of the winch and the winch rope. So you need to do something about it. This is where your 2 and 3 line pulls can come in. Okay, and if you're going to this stuff here, you're looking at your 3 and 4 line pulls. Okay? However, and there's a big but here, you need to look at this stuff over here as well. Because if you're in sticky mud, 50%, and you're at 30 degrees, 50%, so the weight of the car already, that's the weight of the car, and you're up to your sidewalls, that's 3 times the vehicle weight. Again, you're way up here. Okay, so you need to be careful of that, looking at the combination of things. So you need to look at the ground you're on, the slope it's on, and the bogged factor. So that's where you're coming in. How bogged are you in the ground? There's the 3 things you need to consider. And if that's low, and that's low, and that's not too bad, then you're okay for the single line, double line winches. Okay? But otherwise, you need to look at, once you're at the sidewalls, 1 and 2 perhaps, line pulls. So have a think about all that. It all comes together, and hopefully I haven't gone too deep, because I don't want to go deep, but there's calculations, there's sines, cos and tan and all that stuff involved that we won't go into full stop. But it's just enough to know that it's a combination of the 3 things: the terrain you're on, the slope you're on, and the poo you're in. Okay, so that should get you going again. When you're winching, you generally don't need to be powering on your accelerator, so you're just sitting in neutral, allowing the car to be dragged along. I say this because if you're going up a slope, or you're going along an area and you're putting your foot in the accelerator and you're climbing up over a rock climb or a step, you run the risk of jolting the car and jolting the line, and putting a jerk load on that rope, if you like. It's not good for the rope, because you were calculating around the 3.5, 4 tons, and suddenly you drop back into that hole, and you put a jarring effect on that rope. That's the word I was looking for, jarring. You're jarring that rope, and it's possibly exceeding the load of the winch and the rope. So just be careful of that. So all this now sets the scene, if you like, for how we use the winch and what we do with it and how it works. And we can look at, as we go forward, we're going to look at a single line pull next, but then we can double that up, have the line go up to the anchor point, come back to the car. Suddenly you've got effectively 2 ropes pulling the car. You've halved the load on each rope. We can also look at a 3 line pull, up to the anchor point, to the tree, come back to the car, and go back again to a tree or another tree. We've got a 3 line pull. It'll get more exciting when we get into the Spanish Burton, a 4 line pull. I like those because it's very slow. You can see the loads being shared across those 4 ropes, and your capacities are increased. So the winch really loves it. Anyway, we'll get into a single line pull in the next vlog, and take you through that and what to do and what not to do, and see how we go. Let's get you out of trouble, eh? If you're standing looking at the slope, and if you look at 3 meters away from you, if that slope is there at about your height, 1800 or 1600, depending how tall you are, that's the slope, that's 30 degrees. It's also about the same as a staircase. You can imagine a staircase going up.